it. It's um
You're
yeah.
so awesome. You're on the offshore rig off the coast of Australia, and you want to apologize to me. Thank you. You're too generous.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
where did we get to? Where was I?
we're looking. Oh, we were talking about this gentleman here who's 50, but he's still
Mm.
pushing harder than the green hats.
Oh yeah, yeah, he goes hard. And then the polar opposite is, the younger guy there, brand new to offshore, super keen, great attitude, but just green, like just started, so it's not his fault, but he's really really keen, and he will end up doing well. And then the guy at the end he's just new to our rig, but he has been roughnecking before, and yeah, he's just new to the rig. But yeah, we have a good mix of. I think we have a good mix of guys. There's another guy who's also he's not in this photo, but he's like a smaller guy. Yeah, super clever. Thinks about things really differently. Can't use strength as a resource, so uses his brains. Like how can we do things without having to, just push them by hand or move things around with brute strength. He uses his brain and rigs a lot of stuff up really well, um, and that's what I want in a crew. Like different people, not the same people, not the same skill. You need an older guy who's sort of like setting the tone. Setting the tone.
I do want to say that you froze on my side, and that's because of the internet. So when we get back, I'm going to ask you, what time is it where you are, and maybe more people are hopping on the Wi-Fi, and that's what's degrading our signal. Well, we've been incredibly lucky to have Justin Forrest join us. Well, I hope that he can get his signal back and come. But really, these photographs are, without a doubt, they capture not just the environment, obviously, not just the tools, not just the superstructures, but what makes all that happen, right? Like men and women make that happen. Men have to build these superstructures and tow them out to sea. Like none of these things happen without the strength, the resilience, and the it's got to get done attitude that you find in oil and gas. Obviously, a building doesn't get built unless people commit to finish building the building. Hey, there's Mr. Justin. There you go. How are you, sir? I was commenting to myself that, could you tell us what time is it where you are right now?
2 a.m.
2 a.m. Are more people kind of getting up and getting ready? Is that why the internet is slowing down? Because there's more people on the Wi-Fi now?
Nah, everyone should be asleep, to be fair. I'm not.
Or working?
Yeah, like
Or working, right?
half the
Yeah.
rig is asleep and half's working, but usually now is like the perfect time. I'm unsure. It's just cutting me out where I have to like log back on. It's not that there's
10-4.
no internet, but it's making me log back on for some unknown reason.
10-4. Okay. Well, we were very, very fortunate that we had that really long stretch prior. But let's truck forward. Let's truck forward, and so let me wrap up with this one photo, right, of the grizzled vet with the two newbies, with the two green hats, and like you say, one of them is new altogether, and one of them is just new to your rig. In an average career for somebody in offshore, do they tend to work the same rig, or how does that work?
Depends where you are. So in Australia, at the moment, yes, there just isn't a lot of rigs down here. So usually people stay on one rig. The more rigs that come down, usually you'll find there's more turnover with guys. I think it's, in my personal opinion, best just to stay on a rig, especially if you want to progress. You want to stay somewhere, you want to get a good name for yourself, get a good reputation, and then just work your way up. As soon as you move somewhere else, you have to start again. Yeah, like if you are somewhere and you move somewhere else, I would advise you to move somewhere else for a promotion or at least the same position, but definitely don't go backwards. That seems stupid.
Right.
But if you are desperately unhappy with where you are, okay, move. Otherwise, just stay where you are. Sometimes the devil you know is better than the one you don't. But yeah,
True.
at the moment in Australia, there's not a lot of rigs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I wouldn't advise people to be jumping from rig to rig. It won't serve you well, and I don't think it looks good either. To be fair, like just my personal opinion, because
Right.
if you are decent, if you are good, a rig will keep you. It's just the
It
way
will
that
keep you, right.
100%. They will bend over. If you're good, they will bend over backwards to keep you.
Right. Right. No, and that's very well put. That's very well put. And it's an offshore. And again, like we're saying, that's a slightly different animal from what happens onshore. So
Mm,
no, that's fascinating. Let me move to this other photo because I do have like, well, brother, believe it or not, I got tons of questions for you. Believe it or
mm.
not. Let's see if I can find the right tab. Once again, I guess that one's it. Yeah, there we go. So let's see. We have
Mm.
this photograph. Can you see it?
Oh
I
yeah,
guess this is a flare.
flaring. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about this and how hot exactly was it? Because I don't think you were using a telephoto lens on this one.
No, so yeah, we were flaring, and this was the first flaring campaign for the company that we're working for, and we this was them bringing up sort of gas from their first well to test it. It was phenomenal. It was double or triple what they expected. So everyone was very, very happy. For me, this photo, I don't really care about like the quality that's coming out or what it's going to do for them. That doesn't bother me. But this photo for me is like represents this is what it is. Like this is what you're sitting on top of. This is what can come at you.
Mm.
If you make a mistake. Like it's raw, it's real, it's not to be fucked with. Like this is Mother Nature, and this is like Mother Nature choked back. So
Yeah.
what you're
Right.
seeing here, and like you don't hear. Obviously, this is like definitely loud. Like this is so loud, and it's very very hot. But what you see here from this flare is choked back. So you can only imagine that if you take a kick or you mess up, what can come at you is this is what's coming at you. So it sort of
Wow.
lets you know because these things, kicks and big explosions don't happen a lot. They do happen. Obviously, everybody is aware of Macondo, and that's a perfect representation of
Mm.
Mother Earth and what she can do. But so is flaring, and yeah, it just sort of hits home about you need to be on the ball with what you're doing, and because this is what could come at you essentially.
Yeah. Um, Again, absolutely stunning photograph. Absolutely stunning photograph. And we onshore, there's a lot of flaring that we do
Mm.
onshore as well, but it never I've seen more than my fair, and I've been close enough to more than my fair share of flares where also the condensate began to leak and we had issues, but nothing really is again arresting as this, because
Mm.
when we're on shore we always have the option to hop in our pickup and haul ass.
Mm.
That's we always have that option, right?
Mm.
I worked for one company one time where when we started we had to be fit tested for SCBA for
Mm-hmm.
all right, for air and self-contained breathing apparatus, but eventually the company dropped that. Like, why do we drop SCBA? It's if the atmosphere is that dangerous that you need air, you shouldn't fucking be there, right? So, but right, but that's the luxury that we have. You don't
Mm.
have that luxury on a rig.
No.
Um, You don't. You really don't. And let me ask you this, because visually it's also very striking. I'm going to
Mm.
zoom in because it looks like there's a line of pipes, 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
that are shooting out this gas.
No, water.
That's the water.
Yeah. So that's water mist. So that's basically a water mist system. So the flame is coming out of the flaring boom, which is like swung out off the aft of the rig, and then it's ignited. So we're basically bringing up the gas from the well. It goes through a big well test package, and they're choking it back. They're doing all the testing and that, and then it goes out to this flare boom. They light it up, flare it, and then basically there's all these deluge system all around the rig. So the whole rig is covered in water, and that's keeping everything cool, so we don't obviously catch on
Right.
fire or melt something.
Right.
So everyone's walking around on
Right.
deck and testing, but it's like super hot. Like even when you're on deck, it's it's very very hot. But the sound is what gets you. Like that sound is like a roar, like a lion's roar, like it's just like constant, and it's deafening. You have to wear double
Yeah.
hearing protection, and it's
Yeah.
yeah.
One could, and I've heard, like I said, I've been close to, not like that, but no, if I guess I was going to use, this is what the sound of the gates of hell sound like.
Man, you
The
know what?
gates of
That's
hell probably sound like that.
fuck. You took the words right out of my mouth. If I was to believe in the devil, yeah, this is where he would live for sure. Like, yeah. And if you sometimes you just sit there watching that flame, and obviously the flame, is like making all these patterns in the sky, and obviously it's like pitch black when I took these photos, so it's quite nice. It's just like black, and then this like deep red orange, and this flame is like dancing around the night sky, and I'm just like, holy shit, this is yeah. Because we don't
That's
really
incredible.
flare that often either. So for me, I hadn't seen this for a long time, and it was a very humbling reminder of what we are doing and what we are and what we are dealing with, and the potential that it has. Because I think sometimes we take it for granted, because accidents, obviously big accidents like this, are very rare to happen, sort of thing.
No, you're right, but it is important. We all need to be reminded. I think that well, I mean, let me drive right to the heart of it. I think that Ricky Gervais, the comedian, he says that he takes a walk every day through a graveyard just to remind himself that time is short, that our time
Mm.
here is very short. Um, and I know that it's 2 a.m., 2:42 probably for you, something like that, getting close to 3 a.m., and you have to turn around and get ready to go back on shift in a little bit. So, with respect, let me ask you just a couple of other questions, because we're going to have you back on the show. There's no way, you're too captivating and too compelling not to have you back. But quickly, how have you used LinkedIn? How has LinkedIn been important?
Mm.
Because I've been following you for a while, and the content that you write is as it is. I'm trying to find the right word. It is as wholesome is not the word. Wholesome is not the word, but it's as wholesome and considered as your photographs are.
Thank
It's
you.
very thoughtful. Yes, sir. Talk a little bit about that.
So LinkedIn, I've always been on LinkedIn. Never thought anything of it. I always thought it was just a waste of time, and to be honest with you, I just thought it was HR people trying to scam you for your email or your resume, so they have your resume on file. But then, maybe I don't know, 6-8 months ago, I started looking into content stuff, and a lot of people that I was like following or listening to, they all said the same thing. They all said LinkedIn is sort of like the place to write or talk about, work stuff that you want to talk about. So I sort of got back on there, started looking around, and I was like, okay, it seemed like a different conversation than I'd been seeing for the previous sort of like 16 years. And it definitely has changed 100% in the last couple of years. And maybe I'm late to the game, but it's definitely changed. And then I just thought, well, what do I know about, you know? And I was like, well, the only one thing I really, really know about quite well from my perspective is, working away. Like, I've always worked away. Whatever job I've had, it's been away and it's been on the ocean. And I just thought, well, I'll just start talking about it and see what happens, you know, like. So I just started talking about it from my perspective. And I feel like, I sit in a doghouse and talk to everybody all day. And one thing I know, and from working in Australia to Africa, to working with dudes from England, Scotland, Denmark, Russia, doesn't matter. If you're a roughneck, a driller, a tool pusher, an OEM, every single person on this rig or rig I've been on is going through the same shit. Everyone. They're going through the same shit in some way. If you're married, single, gay, straight, I don't care. Everybody is missing somebody. Everybody is dealing with something that they're away. They've got some problem. They feel the same way about things, and like we all talk about it, like, and you've got a lot in common, but I just don't see anyone like talking about it in the open sort of thing. So I just thought I'd talk about it, and from my standpoint and my sort of story about who I am and what offshore means to me as well, in a positive way as well. Like, not, I think there can be a lot of negative stuff about offshore. Guys aren't paid enough, or the food shit, or whatever it is. Which is fine, but sometimes I think that we sort of take what we have for granted a little bit.
Yeah, it's and so eloquently put, and you're right, everyone is going through the same shit. The stuff that you've got is not too dissimilar. It's not, I mean, it is very different, I mean, by orders of magnitude, but there's something that even us and the Permian Basin, and and dare I say, all of our colleagues and all of our oil family, all over the world, we all suffer the same things, right? Being away from family,
Yep.
maybe having problems with the spouse, having money problems, or more often than not in life, we have to sometimes resolve the past in order to move forward. And so a lot of times, even, it's not even things that are right in front of you, but they're things from the past that we need to sort of package, and we need to sort of put together in a way so we can move forward. And everyone is always fighting a battle that we don't know about. And I
For
think
sure.
that, yeah. And brother, to be able to remember that and to have grace like that, for your fellow man and your fellow coworker is so important. Now, of course, the work comes first. We're here for the work. And if you don't do the work properly, we're all going to fucking die. So let's make sure that we're on point. But even more because of that, I have to care about you. I have to care about what's going on. How is your family? How are you feeling?
Definitely.
Because the one day that I need to be the ears for you, one day I need you to be ears for me.
Yeah.
Right.
For
So
sure.
I appreciate that tremendously, brother.
Yeah. I think that. I think if you just lead with empathy with people, you'll get a lot further. Like, if I've got my crew, I think things at offshore are changing a lot as well. It's probably still 10 years away, but seems generational. But they are definitely changing. They're definitely way different from when I started, which is good. And we're sort of moving away from this, egotistical, yelling, screaming, sort of form of leadership. And I just think that if you want to keep people's respect and have guys working for you, and keep them happy, I just think you should maybe show a little bit of empathy and treat them like human beings. And
It,
I feel like people will want to work for you. Then, if they want to work for you, then they'll just naturally do a good job. That's it.
is that your number one leadership secret?
100%. Yeah. It's like, it sounds simple, but just treat people like human beings. Be nice. It's free. Like, stop being a
Right,
fucking asshole. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
you don't have to do that. Um,
right, right,
be nice to people. If you need to, if someone's not, doing something that you need them to do, there's ways around it. Usually just ask them what's wrong. Like, ask them, hey, is there something? Am I missing something? And 99.9% of the time, there'll be something wrong. They've had a fight with their missus at home, or something's wrong with their kid, and they're just sort of acting out essentially. And you'll
right.
get that 0.1 of a person who's just a dickhead, and you can deal with them as well. But
Yes.
like, it's not everybody, and those
Right.
people are few and far between. And
Right.
yeah,
To quote Jim Rohn, the eminently quotable Jim Rohn, he said that his mentor Earl Shove told him, he goes, there's only about 8 or 9 really nasty people out there. Only 8 or 9. Now they get around a lot,
yeah,
right? But there's really only 8 or 9 really nasty people out there. So yeah, I can appreciate that, but no, and I absolutely rejoin that. Empathy, I think, has to be the number one leadership skill,
yeah,
because if not, if you can't approach the problem, well, you'll never solve the problem. Not that empathy is going to solve the problem, but if you don't have that, you have no way of even close being able to fix it. You can band-aid it, and you can get a change of behavior,
mm,
but you're not going to get a change of mindset. And a
yeah,
change of behavior is fine until the day that there's a lapse, because it's just a behavior. It's not a mindset. And like you say, what is it? It's been oftenly quoted, but people don't know, or rather, oftenly quoted, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care, right?
yeah,
It sounds so trite, and especially in
yeah,
our alpha industry,
yeah.
but that's where it's really needed the most,
Oh,
because
100%.
we're the right, we're the
Like,
ones that
100%.
get hurt the most, because
Yeah,
we're the ones that are asked to suck it up the most. So
yeah,
who takes our pain?
yeah.
Nobody takes our pain.
But
So
it's
it's
just like,
very difficult.
if you have all this knowledge, but people are too scared to come and ask you, or even worse, you can't communicate in a reasonable way to people this knowledge that you have, then the knowledge you have is fucking useless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if you can't communicate it, or people don't want to hear it from you because you're just a bad person, then you may as well not know anything. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we all learnt from this industry is reliant on the guy above you sort of helping you and teaching you. So for all these people out there that are like, nah, I made it by myself. No, you didn't. That's bullshit. Like,
Bullshit,
someone
right?
helped you and you learnt from them. And sometimes you learn from people and doing the opposite to them. And sometimes you meet some really good guys and you learn from them. But you've learned from somebody. And these guys below you are also looking for the same thing. So just help them, like, help them
Right.
succeed, and it will go a long way. And at the end of the day, if I'm a tool pusher or a driller, I want the guys below me to know as much as possible, so it makes my job easier. You know,
Right. Right.
Once they know and understand, then they feel part of the team, then they feel like they're doing a good job, and they're going to see the thing that might help you or catch you out, like, oh, hold on a second, this over here, Justin, isn't operating correctly because of this reason. If we keep going, then, something bad's going to happen, or we're going to break something. Oh, great, I can't see, I'm sitting in a chair all day, like. But if you don't teach them anything about the job, the process, the equipment, they're not going to be able to help you. You know what I mean? Like, it is.
Right.
It seems so basic, but it just doesn't seem to happen. It's counterintuitive. I don't really understand it.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's always the most obvious things that we tend to forget. The former the founder and the former CEO of Smart Chemical Services, Lloyd Brown, he wrote in his book Refined by Failure. He said, your employees or the people that you work with, they need to be able to feel emotionally safe with you.
Yeah.
And that's what you're saying, right? Because you could know everything, but if everything is an expletive, fuck this, fuck that, like I don't want to come and talk to you because you're just gonna rip my head off and shit down my throat. Like I don't need that. I don't need that.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel like you can be safe and say, hey, I don't know that, or
Yeah.
I forgot, or shit. Could you remember? I remember 1, 2, 5, and 7. What were the other parts? And be able to have someone say, hey, I'm glad that you asked. And in that spirit of good faith, let me carry you along with me, fill in what's missing, and then send you along, right? Godspeed, brother. Let me send you along. Whatever you need, I'm here. Because we are our brother's keeper. And in all the safety meetings, and this, and bless my mom in New York City, she doesn't understand what our lifestyle is like. And when I tell her that at the end of every safety meeting, they always say, remember, gentlemen, we are our brother's keeper. You have to take that to heart. That's at the end of every safety meeting. Gentlemen, you are your brother's keeper. That means a lot because without our colleagues doing what we do, nobody else knows what your life is like. Nobody can empathize with you. So you need to be able to have that community. And I love so much that you, Justin, you keep fostering that community through being an active leader, an empathetic leader. You show the way, okay? You lead the way and you show the way. And that is the mark of a leader. I love the photographs that you take to be able to show other people what this incredibly difficult lifestyle that you lead and so many other men and women lead. You have really been a blessing, Justin, for us. Thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the Oilfield Leader podcast and giving us a small glimpse, very, very small glimpse into what your life is like. Would you come back on the show at another point and fill us in, give us some updates and more photos?
Yeah, there's going to be more photos for sure, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'd love to. Thank you for thank you for inviting me on and your hospitality. You're very, very kind.
Well, sir, you deserve it. And speaking of kind, it's almost 3 a.m. for you, and you've already completed a full shift. So I want to thank you.
Okay.
Let me do this for the first time. I've never done this. Okay. From all the men and women in the Permian Basin, okay, everyone who works in oil and gas, all of your brothers and all of your sisters across the world in this industry, Justin, through me, we all say thank you. Okay. Thank you to you. Thank you to all the members of your crew, everyone on your ship, everyone on your rig. We thank you for what you do, brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
10-4. Listen, go forward, sin no more, and we'll check in with you. And thank you so much, Justin. We look forward to another conversation. Have a great, great day.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much.
Have a good rest, brother. Thanks. Bye. All right.
The Oilfield Leader podcast is brought to you by executive producer Daniel Corral, executive producer Jim Lynn, executive producer and voice talent, me, Mad Mac, production assistant Caleb Knott. The Oilfield Leader podcast is produced and hosted by Christian Lombardini. Copyright 2024. The Oilfield Leader and Christian Lombardini, all rights reserved. Peace.